Once again, for Gordon Brown, the vultures are circling.
This is a betrayal of the party, that's the allegation.
Former Cabinet Minister Patricia Hewitt, a co-signatory to a letter calling for a secret ballot of MPs on his continuing leadership of the party. No sooner had the Prime Minister taken his seat after a polished performance at PMQs, party colleagues were discussing yet another attempt to oust him from office. Outside the chamber, Jeff Hoon, the other former Cabinet colleague behind the letter, was busy briefing the media as to what on earth was going on. In the email to Labour MPs, the two wrote, "As we move towards a general election, it remains the case that the Parliamentary Labour Party is deeply divided over the question of the leadership. Many colleagues have expressed their frustration at the way in which this question is affecting our political performance. We have therefore come to the conclusion that the only way to resolve this issue would be to allow every member to express their view in a secret ballot."
I think the alternative is between this continuing sniping, briefing, rumbling in the background, interpretation of every speech, every interview, what does this mean for the leadership, as against having this matter resolved once and for all in a straightforward way, in a way that could be sorted very quickly.
Mr Hoon, a former Chief Whip, is as aware as any that there exists a process to deselect a sitting Labour leader, and a secret ballot isn't it. The fact is, previous attempts to usurp the Prime Minister have failed utterly.
A small number of my colleagues, for their own reasons, have a sense of disaffection. They're not in step with the overall majority. Incumbent upon them to put up and shut up. Let me assure you, and through you, everybody, that there is not the support within the Parliamentary Labour Party for this attempted coup d'etat.
It's certainly true that questions about Mr Brown's leadership qualities, or lack thereof, have been circulating ever since he became Prime Minister. But of course, the Prime Minister has been here before and survived far worse. If there were to be senior resignations from Cabinet, then the situation would quickly become more dire. But despite the rumours, that hasn't happened, and support for the ballot on the backbenches seems pretty thin on the ground. This latest attempt to get rid of Mr Brown might just have the lifespan of a snowflake. In the Commons this afternoon, supporters of the PM were making much of the fact both Mr Hoon and Ms Hewitt could easily be described as Blairites rather than standard bearers for the Brown administration.
We're not calling for Gordon Brown to go. We're calling for the leadership question to be settled once and for all through a secret ballot of Labour MPs, with everybody, including those who publicly called for him to go, abiding by the result.
You won't tell us whether or not you and Mr Hoon are of the opinion that Gordon Brown should go?
Well, I think it would be a bit odd to call for a secret ballot and then immediately start talking about how we would vote in it.
Others might argue this principled putsch was odd when Labour have gone some way to narrow the gap in the polls.
Is the Prime Minister in trouble, Ed?
People would think we'd lost our marbles if now's the time to turn in on ourselves, when what we've actually got to do is take the argument on the recession, on jobs, on public services out to the country. I think this afternoon, look, it's a diversion, but I think it will be, and it's a bit odd to say it in the snow, a bit of a damp squib.
Downing Street say the PM is getting on with the job at hand. For now, it would seem there's little risk of that changing. Niall Paterson, Sky News, Westminster.